with Farron and Danielle. First up is my opinion. Do you think that the government would lie to us? Yes, I think there's a lot of things the government covers up because they feel people would be unhappy about it. They don't want us to know what they are really doing with our money or even what they are researching. There's a lot to be covered up in this world. Should they tell us everything? Honestly, no. It would probably scare the life out of people if they knew everything that happened in this cruel world. It is probably best to lived as sheltered as we can to prevent fear and everything. I think many of us would be very creeped out if we, say, knew what was really happening at Area 51. Conspiracy theories exist because I think people like to theorize about the unknown. There is so much controversy and discussion around them. They are very interesting and intriguing. What is my favorite conspiracy theory? Well, I'm not sure if this is really considered a conspiracy theory, but I've always been interested in Mandela effects. I think it's crazy how so many people can remember something in one way, but in fact, the actual product is quite different. The one that I think is the craziest is the Captain Crunch conspiracy. Most remember it as Captain Crunch. Well, in reality, is Cap'n Crunch. I find these so weird. It is because it is almost as if the product just changed names all of a sudden and left no trace of its former name other than in our minds.
Okay, my opinion. I think the government would lie to us in situations where they wouldn't want to start a panic, but I also think they have lied to cover for themselves. I think they should tell us the truth about most things. If that means giving us info in small bits to prevent a panic or chaos, then that's fine. But I believe we as citizens have the right to know what's going on. I think they exist to give an explanation to the more strange things that have happened. Sometimes it's for entertainment, but a lot of the time people genuinely look for some truthful explanation in conspiracy theories. My favorite conspiracy theory is kind of like Fern's. I also find the Mandela effect theory interesting. It's where common names or images of brands, like the Captain Crunch thing, shows, phrases, etc., are remembered one way but are actually something different. The weird part is how many people remember these things the wrong way, yet it's been that way the whole time.
Our theory, we have China causing
the virus,
which made the economy drop it like it's hot.
Drop.
Before the coronavirus, the United States had a GDP of $21.44 trillion. China had a GDP of $14.14 trillion, making the United States the number one economy and China the number two economy. China wanted to be the number one economy on Earth, but that was no easy task as their GDP was $7 trillion behind the United States. It would take something quite large, such as a virus, to change that deficit. As you can see in this graphic, there's also several other countries that are lower than China but still have higher GDPs, which the coronavirus has also hit them rather hard as well.
And this is a slide about China and some info on the virus and what China had to say about it. So China did silence whistleblowers, delayed informing the public, and then lied about the severity of the virus and the numbers of cases. China also claimed that the virus didn't originate in China. There was a conspiracy theory from Zheho Lihan, spokesperson of Chinese Foreign Ministry, that said the virus was from the U.S. and brought to China by the U.S. military. People in China who want to do research and publish works on COVID-19's origin are faced with strict approval from the Chinese government, so that's a little suspicious. And the cover-up is that it originated in a wet market, but of the 41 recorded cases, only 27 were exposed to the wet market. And this is some info on the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the only lab on Chinese mainland that's equipped for the highest level of biocontainment, also known as biosafety level 4. These labs are for pathogens such as the coronavirus, or SARS, that are high risk of transmission, frequently fatal, and often have no reliable cure. The lab was built to better prepare for another outbreak like SARS, The lab's construction, though, wasn't completed until 2014, and it only started functioning in 2018. And 1 year later, the virus pops up in 2019 and is officially traced back to an area near the wet market and the lab that are close by to each other. After being hit hard by SARS and the US barely being affected, combined with the US economy shooting up in 2016, this could be China's way to hit the US.
We then have the US economy and the coronavirus. This graph, published in January of 2020, shows the projected GDP growth over the next 10 years. It was projected to stay rather stable and continue in a similar pattern, but with reevaluation post-pandemic, it is looking like there'll be a 7.9 trillion hit to the GDP in the next 10 years of economic recovery. In 2008, during the recession, the unemployment rate was sky high. It has since plateaued and even taken a turn for the better. Prior to the pandemic, the unemployment rate was lower than the natural rate of unemployment. Right now, during the pandemic, the unemployment rate is nearing 20%, higher than it was in 2008, with nearly 43 million Americans out of work.
In conclusion, China has motive to destroy the US economy with the coronavirus, and the Chinese government has lied, and as a result, the US economy has plummeted.